Welcome back. Today, we're diving deep into the Mahayana practitioner's perspective to really unpack the true essence of precepts, concentration, and wisdom. We're going to explore exactly how this path eliminates our deepest afflictions and ultimately leads us to realize our inherent Buddha nature. It's a fascinating journey into the mechanics of enlightenment, so let's jump right in. All right, let's start with a really thought-provoking question from Bodhisattva Lion's Roar. He asks, if everything is constantly arising and ceasing, who is bound and who is liberated? I mean, it immediately challenges our basic assumptions about the practice, doesn't it? If we don't have a permanent self and our minds and bodies are just this constant flux, who exactly is trapped in the cycle of rebirth and who actually achieves liberation at the end? This is the ultimate paradox every serious practitioner has to grapple with. To figure that out, we're going to map the entire spiritual journey today. We'll start with the bondage of afflictions, look at the true meaning of liberation, and then redefine the practitioner's toolkit: true precepts, true concentration, and true wisdom, before finally seeing how all of this culminates in seeing our Buddha nature. Section 1. The bondage of afflictions. Because, to get free, we first have to understand the cage we're in. We need to look closely at the endless cycle of cause and effect that we're trying to escape. The Buddha explains that we aren't some unchanging soul traveling through lifetimes. Instead, we're made up of the 5 aggregates, basically our physical and mental components. And what binds these aggregates together? Our own afflictions: greed, anger, ignorance. The text uses this brilliant metaphor. Think of a wax seal pressed into clay. When the seal is removed or destroyed, the seal itself doesn't literally become the clay, but the impression it leaves behind is absolutely real and remains. It perfectly shows how even without a fixed self, our past actions and afflictions leave an exact imprint that shapes our future existence. Section 2, the true meaning of liberation. So, the big question is, how do we actually break this chain reaction? How do we stop this momentum if we're just a continuous flow of cause and effect? Here, the Buddha gives us a crystal clear analogy: the lamp and the oil. Imagine your continuous existence in samsara as the flame of a burning oil lamp. What keeps that flame alive? The oil. In this metaphor, the oil represents our worldly afflictions, our greed, anger, and ignorance. So true liberation isn't about destroying the lamp or wiping out your physical existence. True liberation happens when the oil of our afflictions is completely exhausted. When the oil runs dry, the flame of suffering naturally goes out. It's a game changer for our daily practice, right? We don't have to fight ourselves, we just have to stop feeding the lamp. Section 3, true precepts. So how do we actually exhaust that oil? It starts with the first pillar of practice: precepts. But the Mahayana perspective asks us to look right at the core motivation behind our discipline. True precepts completely flip our traditional view of rule following. False precepts are when you follow rules for a personal gain. Maybe you want a good reputation, future wealth, or honestly, you're just terrified of hell. But a true practitioner follows true precepts. This means your sole reason for maintaining moral discipline is to liberate all beings from suffering and protect the Dharma. It's a massive shift from self-preservation to absolute altruism. You're completely opening up your heart. And true precepts demand absolute purity in our actions. The text lists 16 evil precepts, or harmful livelihoods, that a practitioner must permanently cut off. Look at the common thread here: raising or selling livestock for slaughter, hunting, fishing, robbery, deceit. They're all built entirely on exploiting others. True precepts mean your very existence, how you make your living every single day, has to stop causing harm. To exhaust the oil of afflictions, you literally have to refuse to profit from another being's pain. That's why a pure lifestyle is the absolute bedrock of practice. Section 4, true concentration. Once our physical actions are purified through precepts, we have to tackle the mind. That brings us to the second pillar: concentration, or samadhi. Just like with precepts, there is a false way and a true way to do this. False concentration is basically using meditation as an escape hatch. You retreat into your practice just to avoid worldly conflict, seeking your own personal peace and bliss while totally ignoring the suffering of everyone else. But true concentration, it's dynamic, it's incredibly powerful. The goal is to stabilize your mind so deeply that you can view every single living being with absolute equality. Just think about how hard that is, to look at someone who loves you, someone who harms you, and a total stranger, all with the exact same regard. It takes immense mental fortitude, and you're building that focus specifically to guide all beings to the Mahayana path. Section 5, true wisdom. This brings us to what I think is the most mind-blowing shift in the text: the cultivation of true wisdom. This totally shatters the myth of the isolated self. False wisdom is looking at the suffering of the world and thinking, wow, I need to figure this out fast so I can escape. True wisdom is the exact opposite. It's looking directly at the world's suffering and actively desiring to take on everyone else's poverty, their broken precepts, their greed, anger, and ignorance. It sounds counterintuitive, right? But once you realize we are all deeply interconnected, you know you literally can't just sprint to the finish line alone while leaving everyone else behind in the dark. I absolutely love this vow from the text. It perfectly captures the heroic heart of a true bodhisattva practitioner. May all their poverty, broken precepts, greed, anger, and ignorance gather in my body. May I remain in this world without weariness. This isn't just extreme empathy, it's highly advanced spiritual technology. Why? Because the very thing binding us is our clinging to self. When you completely abandon self-interest and literally volunteer to bear the suffering of others, you instantly obliterate the ego that keeps you trapped in samsara. Absolute selflessness is the ultimate weapon against afflictions. Section 6, Seeing Buddha Nature. Okay, so we've got these three tools: altruistic precepts, equalizing concentration, and selfless wisdom. How does this actually result in ultimate enlightenment? The Buddha lays out this beautiful, inevitable chain reaction. When you practice true precepts, your harmless actions bring you deep physical tranquility. That physical calm sets the stage for true concentration, which brings absolute mental tranquility. And within that completely still mind, true wisdom naturally arises. This wisdom acts like a spotlight, destroying all your doubts and wrong views. Finally, with doubt destroyed and the clouds cleared, you directly see your inherent, pure Buddha nature. And seeing that Buddha nature invariably leads to great nirvana. It's a precise, step-by-step roadmap to awakening. And what's the end goal here? The Buddha uses a brilliant analogy. He compares the holy path to a wide road that anyone can travel. And our Buddha nature? That's like the shade of a massive tree on that road. It's cooling, it's eternal, and most importantly, it is never depleted. One person resting in that shade, meaning one person attaining enlightenment, doesn't reduce the amount of shade available for the rest of us. Buddha nature is perfectly equal and infinitely abundant for everyone. Through this profound text, the Buddha gives us a guarantee. If we diligently practice precepts, concentration, and wisdom, with that selfless Mahayana intention we just talked about, we enter a state of non-retrogression. That means you won't slide backwards into ignorance anymore. By exhausting the oil of our afflictions through selfless action, we are inevitably drawn toward the ultimate joy and purity of great nirvana. As we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a thought for your own daily practice. Are your actions, your focus, and your pursuit of knowledge still ultimately serving just you? Or are you ready to shift your perspective, exhaust the oil of your afflictions, and become the shade for all sentient beings? Keep that question with you today. Thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you next time.